Have you ever wondered why China's first indigenous fighter looks suspiciously like a canceled Israeli jet? Or why Pakistan is the only country willing to buy it, despite Chinese marketing efforts? Well, strap in, because the Chengdu J-10 is China's homegrown fighter that's built on everyone else's technology. Today, we're revealing 15 weird facts about this controversial jet that China claims is totally original, yet borrowed from Israel, Russia, and the West. And number one will expose just how much Israeli DNA is hidden inside this Chinese design. Hit that like button, subscribe for more, and let's expose the J-10's secrets. 15. Israeli connection mystery. The J-10 looks suspiciously similar to Israel's cancelled EAI Lavi fighter. Israel developed the Lavi in the 1980s as an advanced multi-role fighter, but cancelled the program in 1987 due to costs and American pressure. The J-10 appeared shortly after with remarkably similar design features: canard delta configuration, single-engine layout, overall dimensions, and aerodynamic characteristics. China vehemently denies any connection to the Lavi, claiming the J-10 is entirely indigenous Chinese design. But aerospace analysts worldwide note the similarities are too numerous to be coincidental. The wing shape, fuselage proportions, air intake design all echo the Lavi. Western intelligence agencies believe China obtained Lavi technical data after cancellation. Israel officially denies providing assistance. 14. Single-engine gamble. The J-10 is China's first modern single-engine fighter, a significant departure from their traditional preference for twin-engine designs. Chinese doctrine historically favored twin engines for redundancy and safety. The J-10's single-engine configuration was a calculated risk that reduced costs, simplified maintenance, and allowed higher production numbers. But it also meant engine failure equals guaranteed ejection. China showed confidence in the Russian AL-31FN engine's reliability by making this choice. The decision reflected lessons learned from Western fighters like the F-16, proving single-engine jets could be effective and affordable. Later variants switched to the domestic WS-10B engine after decades of development. 13. Canard delta design. The J-10 uses a canard delta wing configuration, placing small foreplanes ahead of the main delta wing. This layout is similar to the Eurofighter Typhoon and Rafale. The design provides excellent maneuverability, especially at high angles of attack and low speeds. The canards generate additional lift and improve control authority during aggressive maneuvering. But there's a major trade-off. Canards are terrible for stealth. They create radar reflections from multiple angles, compromising low observability completely. China chose agility over stealth with the J-10. This was a fourth-generation fighter design philosophy, where maneuverability mattered more than radar signature. The canard delta combination makes the J-10 highly agile in dogfights, but easily detectable by modern radar systems. It's a clear choice prioritizing traditional air combat capability over stealth penetration. China wouldn't repeat this approach with their fifth-generation J-20 design. 12. Pakistan's only customer. Pakistan is the only country that has purchased the J-10, making it China's least successful fighter export. Despite extensive marketing efforts, no other nation has committed to buying the jet. Pakistan ordered 25 J-10C fighters, delivered starting in 2022, calling them J-10CE for export variant. This sale is more political than purely military. Pakistan is China's closest ally and needed to diversify away from complete dependence on American F-16. The J-10 purchase strengthens Pakistan-China strategic ties and reduces reliance on Western suppliers. But the lack of other customers is telling. Countries that could afford modern fighters chose Western jets, Russian flankers, or other options over the J-10. Even traditional Chinese arms customers passed on it. The export failure suggests international skepticism about the J-10's capabilities, reliability, or political strings attached to Chinese military equipment purchases that might complicate relationships. 11. Domestic focus priority. China has built over 400 J-10 fighters across all variants for the People's Liberation Army Air Force. Production has focused overwhelmingly on domestic needs rather than exports. The J-10 replaced aging J-7 interceptors and Q-5 ground attack aircraft, modernizing China's tactical fighter fleet. It serves as the backbone of Chinese air power alongside heavier flanker variants. This domestic production priority reflects China's strategy of building capability at home before seeking foreign sales. The numbers are impressive, demonstrating China's manufacturing capacity and commitment to indigenous aircraft. While export customers remained scarce, domestic orders kept production lines busy for nearly 2 decades. The J-10 succeeded in its primary mission, giving China a modern, affordable fighter in large numbers. 10. Late arrival. J-10 development started in the 1980s but didn't enter operational service until 2006. That's over 20 years from initial concept to combat-ready aircraft. This extended development meant the J-10 arrived when fourth-generation fighters were already mature and established worldwide. The F-16, F/A-18, Mirage 2000, and MiG-29 had been operational for decades by the time the J-10 joined them. China's technological base in the 1980s wasn't advanced enough to develop modern fighters quickly. They faced challenges with engines, avionics, flight control systems, and materials. Each obstacle delayed the program further. By the time the J-10 entered service, it was competing against upgraded versions of jets that were already old. The late arrival meant China was catching up rather than leading. The J-10 represented China reaching fourth-generation capability when others were already moving toward fifth-generation designs and concepts. 9. Fly-by-wire achievement. The J-10 was China's first indigenous fighter with digital fly-by-wire flight controls. This represented a major technological milestone for Chinese aviation. Previous Chinese fighters used mechanical or analog systems. Digital fly-by-wire requires sophisticated computers, sensors, and software to translate pilot inputs into control surface movements. The system makes the inherently unstable J-10 airframe controllable and provides enhanced maneuvering capability. China claims they developed the system entirely domestically without foreign assistance. Western analysts are skeptical, suspecting technology transfer from various sources, including the Israeli Lavi program. Regardless of origin, implementing fly-by-wire successfully demonstrates advancing Chinese aerospace capability. 8. Russian engine dependency. The J-10 originally relied entirely on Russian AL-31FN engines because China couldn't produce reliable indigenous power plants. This dependency was strategically problematic and embarrassing. China was building their own indigenous fighter, but had to import the heart of the aircraft from Russia. The AL-31FN is a variant of the engine used in Su-27 flankers, modified specifically for the J-10's single-engine installation. China bought hundreds of these engines over many years. Development of the domestic S-10B engine took decades longer than planned. Early S-10 variants were underpowered and unreliable. Only recently have newer J-10C fighters used Chinese engines regularly. This engine dependency highlighted China's persistent weakness in jet engine technology. They could design airframes and avionics, but struggled with the metallurgy and precision manufacturing required for high-performance turbofan engines. The technology gap is closing but remains a significant aerospace weakness. 7. Limited combat radius. The J-10's single-engine configuration limits internal fuel capacity, resulting in shorter combat radius compared to larger twin-engine fighters. Combat radius is estimated around 550 kilometers, less than flanker variants that can exceed 1,500 kilometers. This range limitation is problematic for certain missions. Cross-strait Taiwan operations are feasible given the short distances involved, but extended operations over the South China Sea or beyond require aerial refueling support. The J-10 can't match the strategic reach of heavier fighters. China accepted this trade-off for affordability and numbers. The limited range works for defensive operations and regional conflicts where proximity allows. But for power projection or long-range missions, the J-10's size constraints become a significant liability. Payload also suffers when carrying maximum fuel externally. The single-engine design's efficiency gains are offset by reduced fuel capacity and overall mission flexibility compared to larger aircraft. 6. Upgraded constantly. The J-10 has gone through continuous upgrades with distinct variants showing significant improvements. The original J-10A had mechanical radar and basic avionics. The J-10B introduced improved radar and weapon systems. The current J-10C features ASA radar, advanced electronic warfare systems, helmet-mounted displays, and precision weapons capability. Each generation represents substantial technological advancement. This mirrors Western fighter development, where aircraft receive regular upgrades to maintain relevance. China learned this approach from observing how the US kept F-15ES and F-16ES competitive through decades of improvements. The rapid evolution from J-10A to J-10C shows China's ability to integrate new technologies quickly once developed. The latest J-10C is substantially more capable than early variants, essentially a different aircraft in the same airframe. 5. Lack of combat experience. The J-10 has never fired a shot in anger. It has zero combat experience against any adversary anywhere. Every capability claim is purely theoretical, based on specifications, simulations, and exercises. This is a significant unknown compared to battle-tested Western fighters. The F-16 has decades of combat data from multiple conflicts. We know exactly how it performs under real combat stress. The J-10? Complete mystery. How does it handle battle damage? How reliable are systems under combat conditions? How do pilots perform in actual life or death situations with this aircraft? Nobody knows. Chinese pilots train extensively, but training never fully replicates combat chaos. The J-10 might perform exactly as advertised, or it might reveal critical flaws under real combat pressure. This lack of operational validation is a major question mark. Until the J-10 faces actual opponents in warfare, its true effectiveness remains speculation. 4. Domestic pride symbol. The J-10 represents China's first indigenous modern fighter, a symbol of technological independence and national pride. The Chinese media and government promote it as proof that China can design and build world-class military aircraft without foreign assistance. It's marketed as a milestone showing China's emergence as a technological power. This narrative is extremely important politically, demonstrating China's advancement from copying Soviet designs to creating original aircraft. The reality is more complicated. The J-10 clearly incorporates foreign technology and design concepts from Israel, Russia, and Western sources. But China successfully integrated these elements and produced a functioning modern fighter in large numbers. That's genuinely impressive even if the indigenous claims are exaggerated. 3. Cheaper alternative. The J-10 is significantly less expensive than flanker variants, allowing China to procure higher numbers within budget constraints. This economics drove adoption of the high-low capability mix similar to America's F-15, F-16 combination. Heavy, expensive flankers provide long-range, heavy payload capability. Lighter, cheaper J-10S fill out the force with numbers and handle less demanding missions. This strategy maximizes overall capability for available funding. China can't afford an air force composed entirely of expensive heavy fighters. The J-10 provides acceptable capability at much lower cost per unit. Maintenance and operating costs are also reduced with the simpler single-engine design. This affordability enables mass deployment across China's vast territory. The J-10 might not match flanker performance, but quantity has quality all its own. China chose economic realism over maximum individual capability, building a balanced air force that's financially sustainable long-term. 2. Taiwan straight focus. The J-10 was designed specifically with Taiwan straight operations in mind. The limited combat radius that's problematic for other scenarios is perfectly acceptable for cross-strait missions. Taiwan is only 160 kilometers from mainland China at the closest point. The J-10 can easily reach anywhere over Taiwan, conduct operations, and return without refueling. For this specific scenario, range limitations don't matter. What matters is numbers, capability, and affordability. China can field hundreds of J-10s for Taiwan contingency operations. The jet provides modern multi-role capability at the exact range where China most needs mass fighter presence. It's purpose-built for the specific geographical and political situation China faces. This focused design philosophy makes sense strategically. Rather than trying to create a universal fighter, China built exactly what they needed for their most likely conflict scenario. 1. Israeli technology. Everywhere. Here's the ultimate truth. The J-10's Israeli connection goes far beyond the airframe design. Chinese engineers absorbed not just the Lavai's external configuration, but entire systems and technology approaches. The radar architecture shows Israeli influence. Targeting systems incorporate concepts from Israeli avionics. Weapons integration follows Israeli methodologies perfected on their own fighters. Even pilot interface and cockpit design elements trace back to Israeli practice. China didn't just copy the Lavai's shape, they absorbed the entire technological foundation that Israel developed. This represents one of the most successful unauthorized technology transfers in aviation history. Israel officially never admits selling or providing Lavai technology to China, but the evidence throughout the J-10 tells the story clearly. And there you have it. 15 facts proving the Chengdu J-10 is China's indigenous fighter, built on everyone else's technology. Which fact shocked you most? The Israeli connection or Pakistan being the only buyer? Drop your thoughts below, hit like, subscribe for more fighter breakdowns, and we'll see you in the skies.